It's a beautiful day in Oldsmar. Welcome to the Experience Oldsmar with the Mayor podcast. I'm your host, Mayor Dan Saracki, broadcasting from top of the bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar, right here in the Oldsmar Old Bank Building. Special guest today. Very excited about this. With 10 years of public service, my guest today is Pinellas County Commissioner Chris Latvala. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much for coming out here to the little city of Oldsmar and joining me today. I really appreciate it. I understand that you were a Florida native. What city were you born in?
I am. I was born in Dunedin in 1981.
1981, the good old 80s.
Yes, sir. I was a Reagan baby.
A Reagan baby. Perfect. Well, I don't even want to tell you. I was already 21 when you were born. I was on the move. Let's put it that way. Have you lived in Pinellas County your entire life?
I have not. I lived here my first 3 or 4 years on the earth, but I actually grew up in Jacksonville. But I came back to Palm Harbor and visited my dad very often growing up, at least once a month. So I saw quite a few changes in North Pinellas growing up in the 80s and 90s up until now.
So Jacksonville, does that mean you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan?
I am. I remember exactly where I was when we got the franchise. I was in middle school gym class, and our gym teacher told us. I went to quite a few games in the 90s, in the late 90s. And I remember a game very vividly, and I'm sure you remember it too, in the 1996 playoffs when the Jaguars were a heavy underdog against the Buffalo Bills. But we went up to Buffalo and we beat them in the playoffs. I'm sure you remember that.
I don't want to remember that. I actually think I was at that game. Anyways, yeah, I don't know what it is about the Jaguars. It's a rivalry, but they have the Buffalo Bills number. They continuously beat us. Yeah. It's something that I'm not proud of. So let's talk about Pinellas. How is Pinellas County different now as compared to when you were growing up?
Well, traffic, first and foremost has changed. A lot of new subdivisions, a lot of new buildings, and of course, a lot more people.
Let's talk a little bit about your background. Let's go that way. So where university did you attend?
UCF in Orlando.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm a Knight.
It's at the Knights, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I go to a couple of games when they play the Bulls. The football. I enjoy that. College.
Absolutely.
That's another good rivalry.
It is.
So, what type of work led you to consider entering the political arena?
Well, growing up, I wanted to be a sports play-by-play broadcaster. But I was informed by my TV production teacher the 4th year I had her, my senior year, that I probably was not cut out to be on TV. And so which actually coincided with the 2000 presidential election. And so I was, most people, I was enthralled by the 2000 presidential election and started getting an interest in politics. And so I started thinking more and more about, politics. And my degree at UCF, I started out as a business major. And accounting class kind of changed that trajectory, as well as algebra. So I decided to try to take something that didn't involve a lot of math, which history was something that I found. So I was a history major. And so after college, I moved here. I started working on some campaigns with my dad. And I met a Clearwater firefighter that was running for the Florida House and started working on his campaign. He got elected to the Florida House. His name is Ed Hooper, and I became his legislative aide. And so working for him gave me a desire to help people through working in the Florida House of Representatives. And I did that for 3 years, and I didn't want to just run for office. I wanted to run for the Florida House, and I wanted to run in the seat that Ed Hooper represented. And so when he termed out in 2014 because of term limits, I ran for the seat that he held, and it was very special to get elected to the seat that Ed Hooper held.
That's great. I remember in 2015 when I first got elected, I went to Tallahassee for the first time ever in my life and met you and your dad up there in Tallahassee. That was a great learning experience, and I appreciate all you've done for me over the years. I really do. So what district did you represent?
I represented, it was then House District 67. That was before the latest iteration of redistricting. And so back then it was part of Clearwater and part of Largo. But because of term limits, there's now a Clearwater district and now a predominantly Largo district in the Florida House. But back then it was the district I represented was part of Clearwater and part of Largo.
I remember meeting with you. You and your dad always opened your door, welcomed me all the time. No matter what, you always allowed me to come in. What was...
Well, you were a regular attender with the League of Cities.
Yeah.
So it was fun times, and you served and still continue to serve Oldsmar residents honorably and proudly. And by going to Tallahassee and advocating on their behalf is just one example of that.
Yep, thank you. So when I was up there, you were always working on some special legislative items. Just give us one good one.
Sure. A lot of what I did was through different education assignments that I had. I was the chair of the Education Committee and the Education Appropriations Committee at different times. But the one that I am most proud of is a bill called Jordan's Law that I passed, and it was in honor of a 2-year-old Largo toddler that was murdered by his mother, and it helped change the child welfare laws in Florida. And there's still a lot of things that need to be changed with regards to the child welfare laws in Florida. But what this bill did, it had 4 major components, but 2 of the things are things that other states are looking at and taking proactive steps and doing themselves in their respective states. One of which is mandatory training for possible brain injuries in children under the age of 6 for judges, child welfare advocates, police officers, guardian ad litems, etc. And then the other major component of that bill is a notification for law enforcement if they have an interaction with somebody that has a ongoing child protective investigation that's currently ongoing. Those investigations are civil in nature; they're not criminal. But if law enforcement has an interaction with somebody like that, that has that investigation that's ongoing, it could, definitely help them and how they process that situation and whether or not they tell DCF about what they're seeing on the ground.
I remember that. Congratulations. That was a pretty special moment. I remember you were very proud of that. So good job. Let's go over to County Commissioner. What year were you elected?
I was elected this past November in 2022. So I've been on the job 10 or so months.
How do you like it?
I like it. It's a lot different pace. I enjoyed Tallahassee. It was an honor to serve there, but I do not miss it.
I remember you always complained about the drive.
Well, it's not just the drive. It's, there's a lot of, there's a lot of folks in Tallahassee, and it's on both sides that, are there to, rise the next rung on the political ladder. And, I'm not really interested in that. I'm interested in making an impact in my community and helping people and helping make Pinellas County and my area or my state, wherever I'm representing, a better place.
So what made you decide to run for county commissioner? Were you termed out? What was it?
Well, I was termed out. I had no aspirations of ever going to the Senate. That's not something that interests me in the least bit. I love Ed Hooper, but even when he retires, I have no interest in succeeding him in the state Senate. And there was another Senate seat open in Pinellas County, and I had no interest in doing that. there were decisions that the previous county commission made that I didn't agree with. That and I thought that they were going in a direction that I didn't agree with politically. That and so I thought that they needed a new conservative direction, and so that is why I ran.
So the county commissioner districts or areas are broken up. What district do you actually?
So I'm in District 5. It's a single member district. It's a large portion of Clearwater and Largo, and then part of the beach, Clearwater Beach, Sand Key, Bel Air Beach.
It doesn't go down on like the Treasure Island, or
It doesn't go that far.
not far. Okay, very nice. So what are the term limits for county commissioner?
So currently there are no term limits, but hopefully soon that will change, and we will have term limits.
So it's unlimited.
As of now, it is.
Okay. You have served on quite a few boards for local nonprofits. Can you tell us about some of those experiences?
Yeah. So two of the ones that people would know and recognize are the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Suncoast. Mm-hmm. And then the other one that's near and dear to my heart is the Pay Center for Girls of Pinellas. It's a school for at-risk girls, and generally high school age, but also middle school age girls. And it's an all-girls educational
And you
program.
serve on both those boards right now?
No, sir. I don't serve on either one of those currently.
Okay. Any boards that you serve on?
No, just the committees that I'm assigned to as a county commissioner that keep me pretty busy.
Like PSTA?
Yeah, and we have a pretty decent vice chair of PSTA, who happens to be the mayor of Oldsmar. So PSTA is probably one of the biggest committees I serve on. The other one is JWB, the Juvenile Welfare Board. But I also serve on the Early Learning Coalition, the Pinellas County Licensing Board, and the School Transportation Safety Committee.
Great.
And so those are similarly when I was in the legislature, we served on different committees, and here we serve on different committees.
So
as well.
how do you get picked to say PST or something else?
So the chair of the county commission assigns you committees, but we can request them. So I requested to be on PSTA and JWB. Those were the two that I really wanted. And then the other ones I wanted because of the education, background that I had in the legislature.
Very, very good. All right. So you have received many honors and awards for your services to the community. Can you tell us about a few of these?
So probably the one that is the biggest to me personally is the Parkland. It's like the parents of Parkland. They started a group, and I got the Lifetime Achievement Award from them because of my work in school safety.
That's wonderful.
And it's people that, and I was the first person that was given that award, and it's people that, and the group's called Stand with Parkland, and it's people that I wish I had never met before. And I should have never met, but they, on February 14th, 2018, kissed their kids goodbye. And later that afternoon, their kids were slaughtered at school. And, one of the most important things that we did while I was in Tallahassee was the first school safety bill in 2018. But then after that, we did several others, school safety bills and different improvements, whether it was in mental health or school hardening or, just different school safety measures. And I would have to say that one of the biggest champions in school safety in the state of Florida is our own sheriff, who sits as chair of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Commission. And I've been with him and the city of Parkland meeting with these parents. That's how dedicated he is. And I call several of those parents, I would call them my friends. I've talked to many of them since I've been termed out of the legislature. And so that one's near and dear to my heart, and it's still sitting in my office in downtown Clearwater in my county commission office. And then I have a FOP, kind of it's a similar lifetime achievement award from the Fraternal Order of Police in the state of Florida. That's also near and dear to my heart.
Congratulations. That's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with us. Appreciate that very much.
Yes, sir.
I know you've worked really hard for all that. Really, I know.
Well, I mean, and I wish I never had to, but people talk a lot about the divisiveness of Tallahassee or of Washington, but after the school safety bill, after the school safety shooting, the school shooting in 2018, that was the saddest time of my legislative career. But in some ways, it was also our proudest moment because that bill never would have passed the House or the Senate if Republicans and Democrats would not have come together, because it had to have passed with both sides voting for it. And, because there were Democrats and Republicans that voted against it. And, that will always be one of my more prouder moments of, prouder votes that I took.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, let's talk about the future. Pinellas County, what are you currently working on? What's exciting? What's motivating you?
Well, there's a baseball team that we have that is trying to stay in town. Now they, I guess after they've exhausted a few of their options, are now wanting to stay, which is good. I'm glad that they want to stay. But that's going to be a decision that, we ultimately will need to make in conjunction with the city of St. Petersburg. Currently, they want $300 million from the bed tax. So we'll see what happens with that. The other big issue is beach nourishment. I love baseball. I love baseball since I was a little kid, and I remember going to spring training games and going to a lot of Rays games even growing up. And I do not want to see them leave. I don't want to be on the county commission when they leave. But people come to Pinellas County because of the beach, and tourists come here because of the beach. And so if we don't have a beach, we don't have tourism. And so that I believe has to be our number one priority.
Right. You and I both were at the announcement for the Rays staying in Pinellas County. That was an exciting event.
Right. Yeah, and I, I'm optimistic that they will stay. But it all comes down to the details and what makes sense, to the people of Pinellas. But I can't, it's one of those issues that I've, honestly have wrestled with and gone back and forth on. And it's, funny because I've had, reporters with the Tampa Bay Times ask me how I'm going to vote, and I haven't returned their call. And so I can, you're my buddy, and I can tell you that, I'm 100% undecided on how I will vote on that.
I got you. Well, I tell you what, I'm excited they're staying. From Buffalo, New York, growing up, we didn't have a baseball team. Yeah. And when we moved here,
you sort of have a football team.
We sort of. We just can't beat the Jaguars. But yeah, I mean, when I came first down, I remember the Rays came in '96, and I went to a game, and I was like, "This is my first,
right.
Major League Baseball game." So I'm really excited about the Rays staying, and I hope it works out. I hope we get $300 million, whatever you need. I think that long term, we're talking about generations to come. I think the Rays need to stay in Pinellas County. That's just my opinion, but I understand you got to do what you got to do. All right. Let's talk about anything else. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else that's on your mind? No,
I mean, we live in paradise, and it's an honor to be one of 7 county commissioners, and I enjoy working with our other leaders such as yourself. So.
Yeah, I think it's great. I wanted to bring up the beach nourishment thing that you, when my wife and I decided to move to Pinellas County, Oldsmar, we would go to the beach every weekend because we didn't know anybody. So, and I mean, you're right. The beaches are. I mean, it would be different people from all over around the world, around the country that would come to our beaches. So that is really important too. But I also agree. Enjoy working with you, especially being a rookie going to Tallahassee, and you and your dad. I'll never forget that. You welcomed me in, and it's so important.
Yeah, I mean, you never acted like a rookie. You've always been very well prepared, and I've had countless meetings with you, and you've always conducted yourself in a manner where you've put your residents first and foremost.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Well, Chris, thank you for being my guest today. To find a list of podcast segments, visit experienceoldsmar.com. It's a beautiful day in Oldsmar. You should be outside. I'm your host, Oldsmar Mayor Dan Saracki. Until next time, I invite you to check out all the great things to do in the city of Oldsmar. And don't forget, Mondays and Thursdays, ball hockey at the Lightning-made Oldsmar Boltsmar rink. Be there. I'll see you out down in the rink.